Well, less than 100 days to go before the Lok Sabha elections and nearly a month after electoral defeats in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, the government is planning a multi-pronged agri relief package. In its election manifesto, the Modi government had promised to double farm income by 2022. That is now an almost impossible task, to say the least, with veteran agri economist and a member of the RBI board, Ashok Gulati, calling this promise a cruel joke. So what can the government do to lift the agri sector? According to highly placed sources, the key objective of the new potential measures will be to try and reduce the input costs, improve income security and increase the minimum support price. The government's crop insurance scheme, called the Fasal Bima Yojana, is also likely to get a makeover, and it could even cover crop damage caused by animals. The scheme has come under severe criticism after RTI data revealed that insurance companies saw their profits grow 44% in FY18 and 85 lakh farmers opted out of the scheme. There have been reports of an income support scheme on the lines of Raitu Bandhu in Telangana, where farmers who own land get a direct benefit transfer of 4,000 rupees per acre. But the government, we understand, is yet to take a decision and is studying the feasibility of launching such a scheme across India, which could cost upwards of 2 lakh crore rupees. The Prime Minister, speaking earlier today at a rally in Punjab's Gurdaspur, reiterated the government's promise to double farm income by 2022, but no word on any potential measures that could be launched or announced immediately. Listen in.
हमारी सरकार वर्ष 2022 तक किसानों की आय दोगुनी करने का बहुत ईमानदारी से प्रयास कर रही है, निरंतर जुटी हुई है। साथियों, खेती को लाभकारी बनाने के लिए सरकार निरंतर ऐसे फैसले ले रही है जिससे समस्या को प्रभावी तरीके से खत्म किया जाए।
Well, that is the Prime Minister speaking in Gurdaspur earlier today, reiterating the government's promise to double farm income by 2022. As we pointed out, looks like an almost impossible task at this point in time. Joining us now to take this discussion forward, former Agriculture Secretary Siraj Hussain, BJP spokesperson and head of the economic cell Gopal Krishna Agarwal, President of Swaraj India Yogendra Yadav, and Harish Damodra, National Editor for Rural Affairs at the Indian Express. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. Gopal Agarwal, let me start by asking you, we just heard the Prime Minister there reiterating that promise of doubling farmers' income by 2022. I mean, at some point you have to concede that that is now an impossible task for you to be able to deliver. The question now is this multi-pronged package that is being prepared to try and address the concerns being faced by the agrarian economy. How soon can we expect this to be announced? What is the sense that you get while speaking with the government on when we could see this package being announced? Will it be in the budget? Will it be ahead of that?
So I don't have privy to what the government finally will announce and what will be the time. But as far as discussions and the general opinion is that the farmers' distress has to be tackled. There are issues which Prime Minister has also reiterated in his interview to the 2 days back, that where he said that there is a big demand only on loan waiver. That is not the ultimate solution. We have to go for other measures. And as you have also mentioned, and definitely there is a report from the party side, also from the think tanks also, that some of the issues with regard to agriculture, farm, insurance, there are some implementational issues. They have to be further streamlined and the ultimate target beneficiaries should be more focused. So those definitely there will be announcement on improvement on the procedures on the farm loan, this insurance sector for the farming sector, Pradhan Mantri, this agriculture insurance scheme. And ultimately this MSP has already been announced and that has been already done with regard to market access. All those things are being done, but this issue of universal basic income or being fund transferred to the farmers, there are some administrative issues that was discussed by us in the economic survey, and that has been at several point of time discussed in the party platforms. But those issues have to be taken care of, whether how the landless laborers who are tilling on the lands, without any proper agreement. So how they will be benefited, will they be left out, how they have to be covered. These are issues which are required in the insurance scheme also. These are some of the problems where we wanted to tackle through this land lease agreement, but it's a state subject. We are trying to push it, but it has not yet been implemented by many of the states.
Gopal Agarwal, on that issue, because you said that it has been discussed at the party platforms as well, on this universal basic income or a direct benefit transfer scheme which mirrors what's happening in states like Telangana, etc. Is the execution challenge the biggest problem, or is the cost the bigger problem? Because in my conversation with the Niti Aayog Vice Chairman Rajiv Kumar, his point of view was that it will cost in excess of 2 lakh crore rupees, and hence perhaps it was not the way forward at this point in time. But, you know, politically, whether the call will be to go forward, I don't know, but that was his view. So what has been the conversation within the party, as you pointed out, on going forward with the basic income program?
When we were discussing earlier, it was in the economic survey, it was the universal basic income for all citizens of the country.
Yes.
And this time it is we are talking now of this only farming sector. The issue is whether the subsidies, because financial architecture can be discussed on the issue there, but the main problem of concerns is how the subsidies will be tackled. Will they be withdrawn, or it is if you withdraw the subsidies, almost the cost will not be much higher, and if you keep the loan waiver out of it, then I don't think it will be a big cost. Will it be better targeted is the issue, and how the sections which are landless laborers will be benefited out of it is an issue. If you remove the subsidy from the this fertilizer subsidy, almost you save 60,000 crores on that. But so that can be a way of financing. But the administrative issues, how it will go, and which sections to be covered, and how much state will be taking care, these are the issues to be sorted out.
All right. Yes, those are critical issues to be sorted out. But let me go across to Harish Damodran. Harish, what are you picking up? You've got your ears to the ground in terms of what the thinking is. What we are given to understand that it could be a sort of multi-tiered package that the government will announce. Whether they will take the Telangana route, we don't know, given the cost as well as the execution challenge involved. But, you know, purely on the basis of changes to the KCC or the Fasal Yojana, the crop insurance program, etc., what are you hearing on what could be the approach that will be taken?
See, Fasal Bima Yojana, I don't think is going to be feasible, because see, whatever the government wants has to do, it has to be done in the next whatever, you know, the 20-30 days, right? Because after that you'll have your vote on account and then elections and all these kind of stuff. So if they want to do something fast, I don't think any of these, like Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, definitely you can't do anything. Maybe Kisan credit card you can do. I mean, one thing which I am hearing is that they'll basically allow. See, right now in the case of normal cash credit, you only have to pay the interest, whereas in the case of Kisan credit card, you have to pay both the interest and the principal once a year. So probably maybe they'll say, okay, you don't pay the principal amount, you know, you just pay the interest, you know, and maybe the RBI accordingly will sort of treat it'll treat a farm loan as a standard asset. So long as the interest is paid, maybe that's one kind of a thing. But I don't see any other things. The other things which you're talking of, a universal income or something, it's fiscally not affordable immediately.
Possible.
You know, like if you're talking of, you know, like the say that the Telangana model, you know, the Telangana model of whatever 4,000 rupees to 5,000 rupees per acre. You know, if you're going to pay, I think the cost will be around 2 lakh to 3 lakh crore per year. So those are not affordable. I think what they should do is a very short-term kind of thing which can be done. I think number one, what they should do is they should allow cash trading in the mandis. You know, they should amend the Income Tax Act to allow unlimited amount of purchases via cash. You know, this is something which I think will boost sentiment. You know, and the second thing they can do is probably scrap the Essential Commodities Act. You know, you come out with this thing and do it in this session itself. You know, do away with all stocking restrictions, all movement restrictions, and those kind of things. You know, on farm commodities. You allow farmers to sell to anybody, anytime, anywhere. You know, and so basically today the problem is there is no sentiment. You know, there's absolutely in the farm markets today, in the commodity markets, there is no liquidity, there is no sentiment. You know, so you allow cash trading. You know, today you have a limit of no trader can pay out more than 2 lakh rupees per day. You know, and a farmer cannot get more than 10,000 rupees in cash. You remove these restrictions, allow unlimited amount of cash trading. I mean, I think it makes sense. It doesn't make sense to go in for whatever payment by check and digital and all these things. It doesn't work. I mean, okay, in the long run you can do it, but I think if you bring back cash trading, you'll improve sentiment. You know, and right now the trade is afraid. Nobody wants to stock up. Nobody wants to. There are no market makers today. You know, and that is the reason why you're seeing all prices crash. You know, whether it is potatoes, whether it is onions. You know,
absolutely.
That is the thing. The others I don't think are feasible. You know, all these whatever universal basic income. That can be done by the next
universal
government.
Basic income. Well, whether they make that promise and say if we were to come back to power, we will deliver on that promise, who knows? But maybe that can be part of the electoral promise that they make. But at this point in time, as you rightly pointed out, it looks like fiscally they will not be able to finance these promises. But you know, ahead of general elections, who knows? Well, let me go across to Yogendra Yadav. Yogendra, you heard what Harish had to say there in terms of what he believes could be the short-term fixes. If the Prime Minister believes loan waivers are lollipops and that's not the way to go, and we have, of course, pointed out several of the unintended and intended consequences of going through the waiver route, what would you believe can be those short-term fixes today?
As Harish has rightly pointed out, any of these big things cannot simply be done. The government has realized too late that something needs to be done. So after nearly exhausting your term, you realize that there is a farm crisis. Incidentally, that's a word never used by the Prime Minister of this country in the last 4.5 years. The Prime Minister has never acknowledged the fact that there are farm suicides that are taking place in the country. The government has now realized, yes, something is amiss. Yes, what we did was not enough, although they would never formally admit it, but this is why now they have confronted. There is not much time, so the government would wish to do something which can be done in a very short term, is very highly visible and doesn't cost much money. Now this is a very strange set of demands to try and reconcile. And my suspicion is that what you would witness is a little tinkering here, a little fine-tuning there, a bit of crumb here, all put together in a lovely package. And as you know, whatever this government announces is historic. So next day you would have the friendly media congratulating the Prime Minister for a absolutely historic, never heard kind of a package and so on and so forth. So I suspect it would be a lot of froth and very little substance. But if they want to do something serious, there are 2 bills which are pending before Parliament, proposed by AIKSCC, by farmers' bodies. This will not take much time, at least passing those bills, implementation would come later. Why doesn't the government want to pass those 2 bills? One is about guaranteed remunerative prices, and the second is about a long-term mechanism for debt, for freedom from debt. If the government is serious, these are the 2 things they would wish to do.
Okay, well, we don't know whether they will be taken up at all in any form or fashion, but let me go across to Siraj Hussain, the former Agriculture Secretary. Given the paucity of time and given the fact that we will soon have the Electoral Code of Conduct kicking in, what is possible, Mr. Hussain? Forget what is fiscally possible, but what is possible from an administrative perspective as well?
I think from the administrative perspective, some of the things which would perhaps be under the consideration of the government is to completely waive the interest on crop loans. The second intervention could be, and I hope that Harish and I are proven correct, is that government will show some courage and communicate that for the next 3 years or 5 years, since we are in a surplus kind of situation for many commodities, the Essential Commodities Act is to be kept in abeyance. This will be very much in consonance with the agricultural export policy which has been announced. I must say that there are at least 2 policies of the government which have which have caused a lot of harm to farmers. There are certain things which are beyond the government, monsoon for example, or global prices. The government can't do anything. But there are at least 2 things where the government itself caused. One was demonetization, which has harmed the rural economy like nothing else. And the second is this ban on trading of animals and, So I hope that government realizes that and slowly a way is found to, restore the status quo ante.
Okay, well, not much can be done about demonetization, but of course, as Harish was pointing out, maybe cash trading, an amendment to the Income Tax Act will be something that the government may want to consider. Gopal Agarwal, you've heard what the panel has to say, that the time has now run out for some big bang announcement, both from a fiscal perspective as well as an execution perspective. So what we can expect is a lot of tinkering of current schemes and perhaps some sort of relief and relaxation, and maybe things like ESMA to be put in abeyance for the next few years. Is that something you think the government may want to bite the bullet on?
I think there are 2 important issues where the government will immediately act, and those are important issues with regard to the Fasal Bima Yojana. That's very important because at the implementation level of this, there are certain problems which have been given by the beneficiaries, and those problems have been identified, and the government will immediately come out with a rectification and plug the gaps in the implementation. And that is,
what specific rectifications?
And it will not take much time already.
Okay, but what specific rectifications are you expecting? Because you're making an assurance that this will be done.
Definitely, there has been a work on that issue of Fasal Bima Yojana. Several points have come out where people have said that these are the gaps that has to be filled, and government is working on that. And definitely, you will. I hope we will see some change on that issue. Second important point that I would like to mention is this only MSP increase in MSP is not solving the full problem. It is what the Prime Minister has also said is the procurement gaps on the procurement basis, because the large product produced from the farmers is not being properly procured because of lack of warehousing facilities, and the states are not fully interested in procurement. So the more important problem that we have identified is procuring. Only simply increasing the MSP is not solving the full problem, though we have said that the 1.5 times the cost as per MS Swaminathan committee, most of the commodities have been announced by the government, but the procurement gap, so whether we should go for Bhavantar or how to increase in the infrastructure, that is a long drawn process of building warehouse, in creating infrastructure, but some sort of Bhavantar scheme like was done in Madhya Pradesh with a better implementation issues. What we have found out over a 3-4 years of experiences that majority of the schemes have some implementational problems.
No, let me just get this clarified for the benefit of everybody on the panel as well. Yeah. So are you saying a Bhavantar like scheme is in the works?
Definitely that is being thought of, because ultimately if the government doesn't have the infrastructure to procure and keep it in the warehouse, so that infrastructure is not there, then if government procures all the produce, where it will keep?
Okay. Harish, you've just heard the BJP spokesperson saying that you can expect a big change as far as the insurance scheme is concerned. Also, a Bhavantar, MP Bhavantar kind of scheme is in the works and on the anvil. On both these, your comments.
No, see, Bhavantar can take effect only from the Rabi marketing season, right? I mean, that is once the crops start coming, and that will be April, May, right? Yeah. by then you have elections. So how are you going to implement Bhavantar? Yeah. And same is the case with crop insurance. The payouts will happen after elections, right? I mean, insurance basically has to do with payouts, and now the Rabi season already the premium and everything. The insurance companies have already collected the premium. It's all over. So now it's a question of paying farmers. You know, in case their crop yield is lower, in case there is drought, in case whatever it's not rained or whatever, those kind of things. Yeah. So those are not going to pay. So those will not pay.
One more point I would like to mention.
We are talking of the very short term,
short term, exactly. Gopal Agarwal, respond there to Harish Damodran. The time has run out. We come back again to the same question that even on the two assurances that you've made on the program, these will only come into effect post-April or May, if at all you go through with them.
See, let me be very...
So, definitely, what I'm telling you is our promise... No, our promise was to double farmers' income by 2022. We have never said that by 19 we will do everything.
Yogendra Yadav, very quickly react to what we've just heard.
Okay, the target is still 3 years from now, but tell me, how much have you done in the last 3 years? And according to your calculation, what percentage annual growth would be required now on in order to reach 100%? Please ask anyone from BJP to answer it. On the issue of Bhavantar, I think Mr. Agarwal is probably not aware that his party has ostensibly, the government has solved this problem in September. They announced with a grand fanfare a scheme called PM Asha, which was meant to do exactly solve the problem that Mr. Agarwal has identified recently. The problem is farmers are not getting the price declared. And can we also ask BJP and any of its spokespersons to please also supply this nation data on how much money private insurance companies have made and how much have the public sector companies made through PM Fasal Bima Yojana, and why is there a difference between the two? These are critical questions that we need to ask.
Okay, Mr. Hussain, you want to add to the list of questions, and then I'll get Gopal Agarwal to try and respond to each of them at the end of the program. Mr. Hussain, your turn, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, I would only like to say that Bhavantar has already sort of failed in Madhya Pradesh, and that is why Madhya Pradesh government itself, even though they were going to face elections, they did not go in for Bhavantar this year, and instead of that they announced some kind of bonus on maize and soybean, 50 rupees per quintal. So Bhavantar is a non-starter because we do not have a very robust mandi system in the country which will capture the data of each farmer, how much has he sold, at what price has it been sold, etc., etc. So it is, Bhavantar is a non-starter. Now there are a number of other options which we have already discussed and about which I have written. You see, one very important point which your channel should clarify. Many people from various media channels keep asking me, is it possible to actually disburse the money before the elections? I keep telling them it is not possible because for disbursing 1 lakh or 2 lakh crores you need approval of parliament, which is not going to come before the elections.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's what we pointed out was the big challenge at the start of the program. Wrap-up comments from Harish. I'll come to you in just a second. 30 seconds, Harish Damodran. Between expectations and reality, what is it that you believe is likely to be announced by the government? As Yogendra Yadav says, it will probably be announced as a big package, but what is likely and what is expected? What is your gut telling you?
Okay, the reality is already cane arrears in UP alone are over 6,000 crore. That includes last season and plus the ongoing season. Okay, then from February, March, you will start having the new potato crop coming in. Okay, and then you will have chana, and then you will have mustard. Okay, so all these crops are going to come, and simultaneously you have this whole problem now in UP of stray cattle. You know, every village now today has about 100 to 150 stray cattle, and farmers are spending all night, you know, guarding their crop. Okay, these are the realities which are going to happen. Okay, so when you enter election, many of these are going to sort of peak. You know, if I am a politician today, the thing which I'll do is just scrap this whatever ban on cash transactions in mandis, scrap Essential Commodities Act, and scrap this ban on cow slaughter and all these things. Just ask Yogi Adityanath to sort of lay off. You know, let farmers say. If you do these three things, I'm telling you, BJP will win the next election. Otherwise, they're going to be routed. They're going to be swept out.
Gopal Agarwal, you will be swept out if you don't at least focus on these three things. Get real. That's Harish Damodran's perspective here. Essential Commodities Act needs to go. Cash trading needs to come back to the mandis. And the ban on cow slaughter needs to go. Tell Yogi Adityanath to back off. Do you have the courage to do any of this?
No, I tell you that, there is no ban on cash trading anywhere. There is ample cash in the system. Whoever wants to trade in cash, there is no restriction on cash. Second thing is that for addressing farmers' grievances is a work in progress. We are not saying that everything has been cleared off.
Gopal Agarwal, Siraj Hussain, Harish Damodran and Yogendra Yadav, always a pleasure. Thanks very much for joining us here on CNBC TV 18.